Y'all hear about that girl that, like, I need you to hear me, okay? So put your listening ears on, all right? From her very first memory of life, she was being severely abused. And it didn't get any better. As she got older, because of the internal damage, she would urinate on herself, and they would leave her there in it for hours until one of the strange men that were hurting her would take her to a shower and clean her while screaming at her as her biological mother stood in the doorway screaming at her to let him clean her. And she thought it was normal. She thought every single child was having to go through those horrible things. At every step of the way, she felt like there was a presence there with her, always trying to shield her, to hide the memories, the worst of the worst. Because she would run away and try to stay away from as many adults as she possibly could for as long as she could. She would hide in the woods, in bushes, when they were looking for the kids to hurt, at house parties, when they weren't at church. Most of the people who went there, it was specifically to find single mothers with young children. Those are not churches. Those are dens of demons where psychopaths hide in plain sight, standing at the pulpit, wearing a cross, holding a Bible, and usually with an American flag somewhere on them. And then when she was 11 years old, she woke up one night in the middle of the night hearing her mom screaming, "Get out of here." She assumed her mom was screaming at her cat, so she got out of bed and went to go get her cat. But as she opened the door to the bedroom that she had to share with her mother, she saw broken glass all over the hallway floor. And as she passed the kitchen doorway, she saw even more glass and puddles of blood. And then she looked up and saw her mom covered in cuts and blood, looking at the front door and screaming, "Get out of here, get out of here." And it was her psychotic husband standing at the front door with a smirk on his face. So without thinking, the girl bent down, picked up one of the broken glasses, and ran straight for the front door. He hauled ass out of there like a bat out of hell, and she ran down the apartment stairs chasing after him until he got into his car. Then she immediately was like, "Oh, my mom is covered in blood, and my sisters are up there, I need to go help." So she went back into the house, cleaned up her mother, and called the police at the same time. And then it gets even worse. When she was 12, the state took her from her mother and forced her to live with her step-grandmother, who was in that very same church, the Den of Demons. She told the girl the only thing she was going to be good for is having babies, that she would never make anything of herself, that she would have a hard time learning anything. She called her stupid so many times. She told her she'll end up just like her mother. She also told her she won't be able to find a man, that no man will love her because of how she dressed and how she acted, blah, blah, blah. She honestly believes that the physical abuse would have been much easier to deal with. And they manipulated her love for God anytime she would try to fight back or protect and defend herself. They would tell her that God will send her to hell for all of eternity and she will suffer for the rest of this lifetime. They told her that if she didn't let them hurt her, that she didn't love God. Those are the worst of the worst fake Christians. Those are the worst heretics that there are. She had enough and became very violent in order to protect and defend herself from the psychopaths in that church. They sent her to what they call conversion therapy. It's not really therapy. It just looks scientific. It looks like a doctor's office, but it's not, because they repeat false and real scripture while they abuse physically and sometimes strap the kids down to abuse them. She remembered hearing those doctors talking about how strong her will was and how they were going to break it. They repeated over and over that her only purpose was to make babies. And when she wound up pregnant at 16, they shamed and guilt-tripped her for that. They thought they were holier than everybody, and they loved to persecute everyone. She told her she would burn in hell for all of eternity and suffer for the rest of this lifetime, not just her, but also her offspring, because she herself was born out of wedlock, and now she's pregnant out of wedlock. They called her an abomination. They called her child an abomination. They told her that she couldn't get us this abortion because it was against God, that she would have to be responsible for her actions, even though her entire childhood was all abuse. And she was still a child. 16 is still a child. The brain is not fully developed until age 25. But they also told her that she couldn't put the baby up for adoption because they didn't want their blood out in the world. White supremacists. And she obviously struggled in school. She failed the 4th grade, failed 10th grade, and had to do night school. So she gave birth 2 months right before she turned 17, while going to regular day school all day, night school on Wednesday night from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then also had a job working at Babies R Us while taking care of her baby and nursing that baby. She was determined to graduate the year she was meant to graduate, that she wasn't going to let all of the abuse and trauma hold her back, and determined to prove every single one of them wrong. And she did. She graduated on time when she was meant to. Then she went off and married a soldier. He was about to be deployed. You see, that was during the Iraq War, right before they bombed, actually. I think they called it A-Day. So she turned 18 on the 8th and got married on the 20th. And shortly after that, when he came home for R&R, she got pregnant again. He moved to post across the country to get away from her family. Like, her number one goal was always get away from her family. Her whole childhood and teenage years, she remembers telling herself over and over and over again, I'm not going to do this to my kids, I'm not going to do this to my kids, I'm not going to treat my kids like this, I'm not going to be like that. Because she saw all the humans around her not acting like humans. All of the humans around her were not very good role models. To her, they didn't know how to human properly. And she didn't want to be anything like them. She didn't want anything to do with that. She didn't want to be anything like that. So as soon as she could, she ran to the other side of the country. But get this. She went to college. First one in the family, actually. When she graduated high school, she barely graduated with a GPA of 1.3. But when she went to college, after she'd gotten away from her family, after she'd gotten away from the abuse, she was on the dean's list with a GPA of 4.1. And look, every single one of those humans that called her crazy or told her that, she wouldn't be able to find love or all of those other bullshit things like she's going to go to hell, I'm going to tell y'all once more, fuck every single one of you. So, shout out to me, my spirit guides, my guardian angels, God, the universe, goddess, whatever you want to call it. They weren't able to steal my joy and kill my soul when I was a child. So white them, a sis will never be able to. My God's B is much bigger than theirs, just like I told them it was. Never let your abusers win. If you're going through hell, keep on going. Please spend some time in nature, yelling at the universe if you have to. Speak your will into existence with your whole mind, body, and soul. And do something that brings out your happy, because perhaps it's a momentary relief from the existential terrors of existence. Sing and dance, because it's very healing. Trust me. And please lay in the grass and let Mother Earth heal you.